And it's important to preface all of these conversations with reminding people the truth about Saudi Arabia and what goes on there, and the whole basis of them having the vast majority of the 9/11 hijackers be part of their nationality, and also some of them being connected to individuals in the government. Their exporting of Wahhabi extremism, such that when you hear about them calling back their medical resident students, some of them you go, okay, maybe they were just regular folk. Others, perhaps they were these extremist ilk. It really changes a lot of it. And I think the coverage out there, particularly for young people who are perhaps not familiar with the history of Saudi Arabia, we need to know that. That needs to be the part of the conversation. And the way I'm putting it, I have another column coming out shortly on this, that these concerns about Justin Trudeau and how he has, shall I put it mildly, perhaps a rather skewed perspective of global affairs, and perhaps a not very good way of dealing with international relations, and a very inconsistent one. Ezra, I think this time around, that is a sidebar issue. I think the front and center issue, and it's gotten worse since I wrote that column you allude to, is that what Saudi Arabia is clearly trying to do is make us submit to them. Yes. They are trying to bring us down to heel, and there is absolutely no way that we should tolerate that.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And I felt that, I mean, I really admire Manny, and I look up to him so much. And I felt yesterday, both of us were trying to square this circle, because we both know that Saudi Arabia would be, I mean, I don't even think I'd be allowed in there. I'm Jewish, and they're very restrictive of non-Muslims. There are entire cities like Mecca where infidels are simply not permitted to travel. I think that by any moral measure, they are a failed state, propped up only by oil money. And as you say, they want Justin Trudeau to bend the knee. I think the reason they chose, what do you think of this? This is a theory that I've seen bandied about a lot. One of the theories of why Saudi Arabia has gone so mental over a tweet is because they sense Trudeau is weak, and they can get him to roll over in a way that maybe Theresa May and certainly Donald Trump and maybe Angela Merkel would not. As in, they see he's wobbly. They see he's all thumbs. They see Chrystia Freeland as sort of shallow and goofy. They saw the fiasco in India. They saw the fiasco in Australia. They see all these things, and they say, you know what? If we're going to pick a fight, let's pick a fight with Trudeau, because we know he'll roll over, and that will maybe set a precedent for these tougher countries. That's a theory I've heard. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I see a little bit of that there. I also think they picked a fight with us because they don't particularly care about our relationship. I mean, they don't get that much out of it. They export some oil to us, but 80,000 barrels a day, it sounds like a lot, but we actually export over 3 million barrels of oil a day to the U.S. Your great book, Ethical Oil, talks about how we can supplant all of that, get the Saudis out of the equation. Their population is actually a number of million less than us, something like 27 million people. The landmass is smaller. I mean, look, Ezra, if they didn't have oil, no one would be able to find them on a map, like how there's a number of Central African countries that, high school students have probably never heard of before. I think that would be the same case with Saudi Arabia. So it's about the oil that we're indulging their entire hissy fit. My problem with this, I think they have chosen to go crazy over this. This was not a visceral, honest reaction. And it kind of reminds me a lot of 1989 when they went after Salman Rushdie for the Satanic Verses. I know Iran and the Ayatollah were kind of the headline grabbers for it, but Saudi Arabia did it too. They never read that book. It's like 700 pages long. And Ezra, when I finally read it, it's actually an incredibly boring novel. It's not his best work, I would say. And they didn't read the book, but they said, you know what? We're going to make an example out of this guy. We're all going to go nuts about this guy. And our goal of this is to change the entire barometer of offense so nobody tries to do this anymore. No one criticizes Islam. And I think what they're doing here is they're trying to go, well, look what we did to that Trudeau guy. So if any of you even try and talk like this to us again, we're going to do the same thing to you. And I think the world can even call their bluff on it because they feel like they're calculating the oil money and the student residents and everything. We don't really care. If for some reason Trudeau calls our bluff, who cares if we lose all of that? But they weren't going to try it on another country because that relationship matters.
That's an excerpt from my daily TV show, The Ezra Levant Show. Normally it's behind a paywall, but I thought you'd like this video, so we put it on YouTube. If you want to subscribe to watch the daily show every day, including always 2 interviews a day, and I read my hate mail, just click on this screen and become a premium member.